Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's dangerous. Not failure, not falling, not being broke, not being underestimated, doubted, dismissed, ridiculed, overlooked, counted out. None of that's dangerous. You know what's dangerous. Sitting still when you know you've got fire in your bones. That's dangerous. Sleeping in when your future is wide awake. Standing at the edge of your bed, waiting for you to rise. That's dangerous. See, we were made for more than comfort. We weren't designed to just drift through life. Wake up, scroll, eat, scroll again. Work just enough, barely breathe, coast till Friday, repeat. That's not living, that's existing, that's surviving. And let me tell you something, if all you ever do is survive, if all you ever aim for is the bare minimum, don't be surprised when the maximum never shows up. Because greatness don't visit the lazy. Greatness don't call the uncommitted. Greatness don't send invitations to the ones who wait until the mood strikes. It comes to the ones who move, who get up, even when everything inside them says stay down. You want something, you hungry. I'm not talking about snacks and comfort food. I'm talking about soul hunger. I'm talking about that ache inside you when you know you were built for something else, something higher, something heavier, something holier. But you're scared to move because moving means discomfort. Moving means losing sleep. Moving means sacrifice. Well, guess what? Sacrifice is the rent you pay for purpose. You say you want success, but are you willing to give up comfort? Are you willing to be tired, to be lonely, to be misunderstood? Are you willing to train when no one's watching? Are you willing to work when it ain't cute, when it ain't posted, when it ain't praised? Everybody wants the reward, but few want the process. And the process is where the miracle lives. You want that better body, you want that business, you want that book written, you want to change lives. Then why are you still hitting the snooze button on your destiny? Why are you still negotiating with your future like it owes you something? It don't owe you anything, nothing, you owe it everything. Let me say this real clear, your gift, that thing inside you, that dream you've been babysitting for 10 years, that vision you keep seeing in the quiet of the night, that wasn't random, that wasn't accidental. That was given to you on purpose, for purpose. But here's the thing, the universe don't honor wishes. It honors work, and work shows up when excuses sit down. You ain't tired, you're uninspired, you ain't stuck. You're stalling, you ain't out of time, you're just out of effort. Now, I know what you're thinking, but it's hard. Yes, it is, it's supposed to be, because diamonds don't come from ease, they come from pressure. So stop asking for things to get easier, start praying that you get stronger. Stop asking for shortcuts, start learning discipline. Stop blaming your circumstances and start building your character. You think it's easy to rise. You think it's easy to do something nobody else around you is doing. You think it's easy to choose the road where people might laugh, where you might fail, where you might cry yourself to sleep some nights. No, it ain't easy, but it's worth it. Everything worthwhile is uphill. Every single thing. So stop looking for downhill dreams. They don't exist. See, there's a war going on inside you. One side wants to evolve. The other wants to stay comfortable. One side wants freedom. The other wants routine. One side wants legacy. The other wants laziness. And every day, every single day, one side wins. The side you feed. You want change, you want breakthrough, then stop feeding the wrong side. Stop feeding your distractions. Stop feeding your doubt. Stop feeding your fear and feed your purpose. Feed your vision. Feed your discipline. Some of you are sitting on gold mines, sitting on it like it's furniture. You have gifts that could change nations, ideas that could rewrite lives, passions that could shift generations. But they're still in the garage of your soul, gathering dust, waiting for you to believe in them enough to move. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. It won't be. You'll fail, you'll trip, you'll fall flat. But better to fall in forward motion than sit back in fear. Better to fail trying than win doing nothing. Better to sweat now than regret later. Listen, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret, that weighs tons. There's gonna come a day when you look back on today, and the question ain't gonna be, was I scared? The question's gonna be, did I move anyway? Did I show up when no one clapped? Did I grind when no one saw? Did I pray when it didn't feel like it was working? Did I believe when the world said, be realistic? Because that's where the giants are made. That's where kings and queens are crowned in the silence, in the shadows, in the struggle. Everybody wants to shine, but nobody wants the furnace. Everybody wants to be the oak, but nobody wants to be the seed buried in dirt, fighting for light. Well, let me tell you something, fight. Fight for that life you know is possible. Fight for that version of you that's whispering, don't give up on me. Fight against every lie that says you'll never be more than this. Because it is a lie, and the only way it wins is if you agree with it. But I believe there's a fighter in you, there's a warrior in your spirit, there's a lion in your chest. You just got used to cages. You just got comfortable with average. But you weren't built for average. You were built to roar, you were built to soar, but you gotta take the chain off. You gotta stop waiting for someone to come unlock the door and realize the key was in your hands the whole time. No more hiding. No more sleeping on your calling. No more selling yourself short because the work looks too heavy. You're strong enough, you just forgot. You're worthy enough, you just stopped believing you've got enough. You just haven't started using it. The moment you stop blaming, you start building. The moment you stop waiting, you start winning. You keep looking for motivation, but motivation's fleeting. You need something deeper. You need resolve, you need conviction, you need a promise to yourself that you won't die with dreams still buried inside you. There's a power in you, don't let it go to waste. Every single breath you take is proof that you've still got a job to do. A mountain to climb, a mission to complete, so get up. Get up when it's dark, get up when you're tired, get up when nobody believes, because you don't need them to believe. You just need to believe enough to begin. Start small if you have to, but start, and don't you dare give up when it gets hard. That moment when it's hardest, that's when the breakthrough's the closest. That's when you're inches from the crown. Don't walk away now. Don't quit before the blessing. Don't settle for safe. You don't get to greatness without paying the toll, and the toll is this. Wake up and go get it, every day, even when it's cold. Even when it's lonely. Even when nobody claps. Because when you live like that, when you move like that, you stop being a prisoner of your excuses. And you start becoming the architect of your legacy. And I don't know about you, but I didn't come here to coast. I didn't come here to be liked. I didn't come here to fit in. I came here to rise, to build, to lead, to leave something behind. Something bigger than fear. Something louder than silence. And if that's what you want, if that's what you're hungry for, then this is the moment. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not after the perfect plan, now. Because you were made for more and it's time to remember. You were made to rise and it's time to move. You were made to run and it's time to stop crawling. So get up, wake up, speak up, and never sit back down. Discipline is not the thing you do when it's easy. It's what you choose when everything in you says stop. It's the muscle you build in silence, when no one is clapping for you, when there's no applause, no likes, no audience, just you, your goal, and the choice between comfort and commitment. Comfort is seductive. It tells you you've done enough. It whispers that resting now won't hurt, that quitting this once won't matter, that you can make it up tomorrow. But that voice, that whisper, it doesn't care about your future. It only wants to keep you still, keep you average, keep you soft. Discipline, on the other hand, is the voice that's harder to hear, but deeper. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It stands in the background, firm and steady, waiting for you to choose it. And every time you do, it grows louder, stronger, more permanent, until it becomes who you are. See, people want results. They want to shine. They want to win. But few want the early mornings. Few want the late nights. Few want the hours in the gym, the drafts rewritten a dozen times, the pages filled and discarded, the small steps that look like nothing until they become everything. That's what discipline is. It's boring often. It's not glamorous. It doesn't show off. It doesn't post selfies. It just shows up, again and again and again. Long after motivation fades, long after the mood disappears, long after the excitement wears off. Motivation is the spark. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning when the wind hits. You don't grow when things are comfortable. You grow when it's hard, when it's heavy. When every part of your body, every doubt in your mind is begging you to stop, and you go one more rep, one more step, one more hour. People look at the disciplined and say they're lucky, they're gifted, it's just easier for them. No, it's not. They just got tired of lying to themselves. They got tired of wishing. They got tired of waiting for the right time. They made a decision, and they backed it up every day with action. They didn't always feel like it, but they showed up anyway, and that's the secret. Showing up when you don't feel like it. Doing the thing even when it's cold, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one's watching. Because success doesn't care how you feel. The dream doesn't wait for your mood to change. Your calling doesn't pause because you're tired. It's there every day asking, will you move or will you make excuses? Every break through you want is on the other side of discipline. And every excuse you use is a wall between you and the life you were meant to live. You can't knock that wall down with talk. You can't knock it down with intentions. Only work knocks it down. Only consistency, daily effort, focused action. You're not going to wake up one day with the life you want just because you dreamed it. Dreams die in comfort. They die in procrastination. They die in that place between I'll start tomorrow and I don't feel ready. Discipline doesn't wait for readiness. It creates readiness. It builds confidence by doing the thing over and over until it becomes part of you, until it becomes non-negotiable, until it becomes identity. There's a version of you on the other side of discipline that you haven't even met yet. A stronger, sharper, more focused, more resilient version, but you'll never see them if you keep giving in to the voice that says, take it easy. The truth is, the easy route is the most crowded. Everybody's there. Waiting, hoping, watching, but the disciplined, they're on the road less traveled. It's lonelier, it's steeper, but the view from the top, the view from the life built with discipline, that view is worth it. You want to change your body, you want to elevate your mind, you want to build something that lasts, then your actions need to align with your aspirations. It's not about being perfect, it's about being relentless. It's about choosing the hard thing over the easy one again and again until it becomes habit, until it becomes who you are. Because at the end of the day, discipline is freedom, freedom from regret, freedom from limitation, freedom from looking back on your life and wondering, what if I had just kept going? Don't train your mind to negotiate with comfort. Train it to lean into discomfort, because discomfort is where the gold is. That's where the growth is. That's where your edge is sharpened. That's where your greatness is forged. The gym hurts. Waking up early stings. Turning off the distractions takes effort, but they all pay off. And when they do, that pain turns into pride. That fatigue turns into fuel. That discipline turns into destiny. You have everything you need right now, not tomorrow. Not when things get easier, not when life calms down. You have it now, but only if you choose it, only if you stop flirting with comfort and start marrying consistency. This isn't about talent. This isn't about who has the best luck, the biggest following, or the most connections. This is about who's willing to do the work, daily, without applause, without validation, without guarantees, because in the end, nobody hands you discipline. Nobody gifts you character. Nobody builds your legacy for you. You build it with your choices, with your actions, with your discipline. Every morning you wake up, you've got a decision to make. You can move, or you can make an excuse. You can take a step toward that version of you that's waiting on the other side of effort. Or you can stay where you are and try to convince yourself that the timing isn't right, that the odds are too high, that maybe next week will be better. But deep down, you know the truth. Excuses sound good until you hear what purpose sounds like. Because when you're moving with purpose, there's no room for excuses. Excuses are easy, they're soft, they're comforting. They let you off the hook. They tell you it's okay to hit snooze. It's okay to skip the gym. It's okay to push the dream to the side just one more day. But that one more day starts stacking up. Before you know it, a year's gone by. 5 years, a decade, and the dream you said you were going to chase is now buried under all the reasons you didn't. Purpose doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't pause when life gets hard. It doesn't wait until you feel ready. Purpose moves with or without you. The question is, are you moving with it? You can't live on both sides of the line. You can't want to level up but stay loyal to your distractions. You can't want results but keep feeding your reason. That's not how elevation works. Elevation requires intention. It requires focus, and it requires movement. Not just random, frantic movement, but movement with direction, with conviction, with purpose. A lot of people are busy, but they're not building anything. They confuse motion with progress. But spinning in circles gets you nowhere fast. You have to know what you're building, why you're building it, and what it's going to cost, and then you've got to be willing to pay that price daily. With your time, with your energy, with your attention, that's purpose, that's focus, and purpose doesn't always feel good. It's not always exciting. Some days it's heavy, some days it's lonely, some days it's grinding through the doubt, the fear, the silence. But you keep moving because purpose isn't about feeling. It's about direction. Excuses, on the other hand, are emotional. They ride the wave of the moment. They sound logical, that's the trap. They wear the mask of reason. I'm too tired. I don't have the resources. It's not the right time. But behind every excuse is fear, and fear will dress itself up in logic if it means stopping you from growing. You weren't built for excuses. You weren't made to settle. That voice in you, the one that keeps waking you up at 3 a.m., whispering that there's more to life than this, that voice doesn't speak excuses. It speaks purpose. It speaks potential. And it's not going to quiet down just because you keep ignoring it. It's going to get louder, more urgent, until you either move with it or spend the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if you did. There's something powerful about a person who moves with purpose. They walk different, they speak different, they work different because they're not chasing applause, they're not motivated by noise. They're driven by something deeper, something that can't be shaken by setbacks or slowed by opinions. When you move with purpose, you stop chasing comfort. You stop trying to impress people who aren't even invested in your future. You stop explaining yourself to people who never had the courage to start. Purpose gives you tunnel vision. It gives you clarity. It gives you the strength to say no to the things that don't serve you even when they look tempting in the moment. But that clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from doing. You won't find your purpose sitting still, scrolling through someone else's life. You find it in the doing, in the building, in the trying, failing, getting back up and trying again. Every time you take action, you're chiseling away at the excuses. You're proving to yourself that you are who you say you are, not just who you wish you were. Stop thinking you need to be perfect before you move. Perfection is a myth. Progress is real, and purpose doesn't ask for perfect. It asks for movement, it asks for faith. Faith that if you keep going, you'll get stronger. Faith that if you keep showing up, the results will come. Faith that your work is not in vain. You don't need more time, you need more action. You don't need more advice. You need more accountability. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to start walking the path with what you've got. Excuses will always be available. You can pick one off the shelf anytime you want. But purpose has to be chosen, fought for, defended, and it has to be chosen over and over, especially on the days you want to quit. Some people will understand that, others won't. That's okay. Purpose isn't about being understood. It's about being aligned, aligned with your calling, aligned with your potential, aligned with the version of you that's waiting on the other side of consistency. You don't get to talk legacy and still live on autopilot. You don't get to say you want to impact the world and still keep hitting snooze on your own life. You've got to live with intention, with courage, with urgency, because time isn't waiting, and neither is your future. You've been given breath, energy, mind, body, spirit, and what you do with those things is your response to the opportunity of life. Excuses waste that gift. Purpose multiplies it. So look in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I really doing with my time? Am I building something that matters, or just staying busy so I can feel like I am? Am I moving with purpose, or just decorating my delay with distractions. Be honest with yourself. That's where the change starts, with truth, with ownership, with action. Because when you finally stop feeding the excuses and start fueling the purpose, everything changes. Your habits change, your mindset shifts, your circle tightens, your vision sharpens, your results speak louder than any words you could ever say. And you don't have to scream to be heard, your life becomes the volume. Your results become your voice, and your purpose becomes undeniable. Everybody wants to do something big. Everybody wants to make an impact, be remembered, leave a legacy. But too many people are waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the stars to line up, waiting until they feel ready. But let me tell you something, you don't need to be ready. You need to start. You need to move, even if it's small, especially if it's small. Because that small step, that's the seed, and everything great starts with a seed. You keep telling yourself you'll start when you have more time, when you feel more motivated, when you've done more research. But the truth is, you don't need more time, you need more courage. You need to silence the voice that says you need to know everything before you begin. Because the real learning doesn't happen before the starting line. It happens in the race. It happens in the doing, in the failing, in the adjusting, in the growing. That dream that's been tugging at your soul, that idea that keeps popping up when you try to relax. That's not random. That's a calling. And every day you ignore it. You're not just delaying your future, you're denying it. Not just for yourself, but for the people who are waiting on what only you can build, what only you can say, what only you can create. Stop overthinking the size of your start. You don't have to launch a business today. Maybe you just open the notebook. Maybe you just go on that walk. Maybe you send that one email, write that first page, make that first sale. Whatever it is, move. Don't wait for momentum, create it. Movement creates motivation, not the other way around. See, when you start small, what you're really doing is planting faith. You're telling the universe, I'm serious. And when you show up like that, even in a quiet, humble way, doors start opening, not because of magic, but because energy follows action, results follow effort, breakthrough follows movement. You don't need to be impressive. You just need to be consistent. The compound effect of small actions done daily, that's how empires are built. That's how books get written. That's how muscles are grown, relationships are healed, businesses are born, and lives are transformed. People get stuck because they think it all has to happen fast. They want instant validation, overnight success, some kind of signal that they're doing it right. But here's the truth. Slow growth is still growth. And steady steps beat sudden spurts every time. Because it's not about speed, it's about staying power. Start where you are, with what you have, and trust that it's enough. Because you grow stronger in the journey. You get better as you go. Nobody starts out a master. Every expert was once a beginner. Every mountain climbed began with a single step forward, one foot in front of the other, day after day. And don't let the size of someone else's success intimidate the size of your beginning. Don't compare your day 1 to someone else's year 10. That's a trap. Your race is yours. Your path is yours. Walk it boldly. Walk it slowly if you must, but walk it. Do not stay still. The most dangerous place to be is in your head, dreaming big and doing nothing. That place is a graveyard for potential. That's where hope goes to die, because thinking isn't building, wishing isn't working, planning isn't producing. The only thing that changes your life is what you actually do. Even 5 minutes a day can change everything. 5 minutes reading instead of scrolling. 5 minutes writing instead of watching. 5 minutes moving your body instead of sitting still. That's all it takes to shift momentum. That's how you create a pattern. That's how you train your mind to stop stalling and start showing up. But the ego doesn't like small starts. The ego wants fireworks. The ego wants applause, but real growth. Real transformation that happens in the shadows. It happens when no one's watching. It happens when you do the right thing over and over, even when it feels like it's not working. There will be days when you wonder if it matters. Days when the steps feel too small to count. But don't be fooled, they count. They always count. Every page, every rep, every dollar saved. Every morning you choose to show up, it adds up. You might not see it yet, but one day you will. And when that day comes, you'll look back and realize it wasn't one big move that changed everything. It was the 100 little ones you didn't quit on. You want confidence. Start. Confidence isn't something you find, it's something you build. You build it by keeping your word to yourself. You build it by choosing action over fear. You build it by showing up again and again, proving that you are not a prisoner of hesitation. So don't wait to be fearless. Start scared. Don't wait to feel strong. Start weak. Don't wait for the full vision. Start with the first frame, the first sentence, the first brick, the first attempt. Because starting now, even if it's small, tells the world, and more importantly, tells yourself that you are not waiting for life to happen to you. You're meeting it halfway. You have no idea what's waiting on the other side of your obedience. The people you'll meet, the opportunities that will open, the growth you'll experience, but you'll never find out if you don't move. Fear may be loud, but it's not stronger than faith. Doubt may visit, but it doesn't have to unpack and stay. You don't need a map of the whole road. You just need to take the next step in front of you, then another, then another. Trust that the rest will unfold as you go. That's how paths are carved, not by knowing the whole way, but by walking one faithful step at a time. So breathe deep, quiet the noise, and begin. Begin with shaky hands. Begin with a trembling voice. Begin while you're still learning, still figuring it out. Because motion beats perfection. Effort beats excuses. And today beats someday, every time. You weren't made to blend in. You weren't designed for average. There's something in you that was meant to rise, meant to lead, meant to stand out, not for the sake of ego or applause, but because greatness is woven into your DNA. It's not something you earn by luck. It's something you activate by choice, and the sad truth is, too many people settle. They shrink themselves to fit into boxes they were never meant to occupy. They lower their voice to keep the room comfortable. They tone down their light so it doesn't shine too bright. But that's not living, that's hiding. And you were not created to hide. Average is easy. It doesn't require vision. It doesn't demand effort. It doesn't stretch or challenge or elevate. Average is the path of least resistance. It's where comfort lives. It's where excuses thrive. But comfort never built anything legendary. Comfort never birthed a movement, changed a life, wrote a timeless book, or inspired the world. Greatness lives on the edge of effort, risk, vulnerability, and persistence. That's where you grow. That's where you expand. That's where you become. Every day, life gives you the option to choose, average or exceptional, mediocrity or mastery, playing small or standing tall. And most people don't choose average on purpose. They just don't choose greatness with enough conviction. They get busy. They get distracted. They start listening to the noise around them, the opinions, the fear, the pressure to stay the same. And they forget that deep down, they were meant for more. Greatness isn't about fame. It's not about being better than other people. It's about being better than your excuses. It's about mastering yourself, your habits, your thoughts, your discipline. It's about taking what you've been given, your voice, your story, your struggle, and using it to build something meaningful. Something that lasts, something that outlives you, but it starts with belief. If you don't believe you were built for more, you'll never chase it. You'll never work for it. You'll never fight through the failure to get to it. And that belief, it doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from applause or approval. It comes from within, from knowing who you are, what you carry, and why you're here. It comes from a decision, not a feeling to rise. People might try to box you in. They might try to define you by your past, your failures, your limitations. But those labels don't define you unless you let them stick. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your doubts. You are potential in motion. You are a walking possibility. And when you stop playing small, when you stop watering yourself down, when you stop making excuses for why you haven't started yet, that's when the greatness in you starts to rise. Don't wait for someone to hand you a title. Don't wait for permission to lead. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Greatness doesn't wait. Greatness moves, it acts, it shows up messy, raw, uncertain, but it shows up anyway. Because showing up is half the battle, the other half is staying when it gets hard, staying when it's quiet, staying when you feel unseen. That's what separates the average from the great, the willingness to persist when it's not easy, not fun, not glamorous. You were born with gifts, with strengths, with passions. You may have buried them. You may have forgotten them. Life may have covered them with disappointment, with fear, with failure. But they're still there. And it's your job, not anyone else's, to dig them up, dust them off, and put them to work. Because the world doesn't need more people playing it safe. The world needs people fully alive, fully activated, fully aware of what they carry. And carrying greatness means carrying responsibility. It means being willing to sacrifice, to train, to rise early, to stay focused, to say no to distractions, to live with discipline. Greatness doesn't come cheap. It requires everything, but it gives back more than you could ever imagine. It gives fulfillment, purpose, influence, legacy. You don't have to wait for a title to walk in greatness. You don't need to be rich or popular or perfect. You just need to show up every day and ask yourself, am I honoring the greatness inside me? Am I living like someone who was made to make a difference? Or am I coasting, settling, dimming my light? There's a war happening every day, not around you, but inside you. One part of you wants to stay small, the other part wants to rise. One wants ease, the other wants elevation. And every choice you make feeds one or the other. Every moment you say, this is enough. When you know it's not, you feed smallness. Every time you say, just one more excuse, you starve your greatness. But when you decide, truly decide, that average is no longer acceptable, that's the moment everything begins to shift. That's the moment you start living with fire, with focus, with force. You stop waiting for life to hand you something, and you start building it with your own hands. That's what greatness is. It's built, not given, earned, not inherited. And it lives in the little things, the habits, the hours, the unseen effort that adds up over time. You don't need to look around for greatness. You need to look within. That fire you feel, that whisper that keeps calling you higher. That discomfort that won't let you settle, that's greatness trying to wake you up. Listen to it, honor it, feed it. The world will try to convince you that you're supposed to be average, that it's safer, more practical, more predictable. But predictable never changed history. Playing small never sparked revolutions. The ones who changed the world weren't always the smartest, the strongest, or the most talented. They were the ones who refused to settle, who refused to be tamed, who refused to let fear or failure define them. You've got that same spirit in you. The difference is whether or not you act on it, whether or not you choose to rise, not once, not just when it's easy, but every single day, because greatness isn't a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a standard. It's waking up and choosing to live at a level that most won't, so you can lead, serve, and impact in a way that most never will. Average is crowded. Greatness is rare. But it's not unreachable. It's not reserved for the chosen few. It's available to anyone willing to pay the price, to walk the path, to endure the process. You don't need a sign. You don't need more time. You just need to decide, and once you do, once you fully commit, once you start walking like you were built for something more, the world will start to respond. Opportunities will begin to open. People will begin to listen. Not because you shouted, but because you lived it. Because greatness recognizes greatness. And once you own yours, there's no going back.